Ready to go? Well, this is another unexpected episode of TheatreSeeItSafely, isn't it? We're in a brand new place, obviously, because of now my room getting renovated, and also where I was earlier on, of course, just staying in a different room of my house here, and now, as I said, things are definitely changing. Yeah, this is not going to be a live one though, because it's kind of unexpected, but we'll do it as live, if that makes sense, yeah. And also, this is going to be a very exciting episode, you know, going back to the, you know, that famous period that I like of the Tudor dynasty. Very reminiscent of Six, and I know we've got that to cover later on in a few weeks' time as well, with the 5-year anniversary UK tour, with that returning with a brand new cast in Cambridge, the very city where that musical first came from, and done its first amateur production as well, and just professional. Excuse me. Excuse me. Just had to do a quiet belch there. No, I'm fine. Yeah. Okay then. Yeah, alright then. Yeah, this is obviously, because of this happening, this is obviously a spin-off episode because of what's been happening, so currently here. Alright then. Have a good show, everyone. Let's do it. No, I'm fine. Thank you. Hear ye! Greetings and salutations to you all from your loyal and royal presenter. And with that, what's up guys? Also, my name is Jack Wright, also known as Jackpot Button Lewis on YouTube and Real Next Gen King Henry VIII on Instagram here. And welcome to another interesting episode, may I add, of once again, my theatre-themed vlog series of Theatre See It Safely. Now, once again, like I said, the reason why I said interesting episode is because you may be wondering why I'm dressed not just in this interesting outfit, of course, all aimed once again at a very favourite time in history of mine that I have been embracing a lot over the last few years of the Tudor dynasty of England, but also I happen to be in a very different room as well. Now, of course, the reason why that I am in here is that it's because, unbelievably, I've been having my recent bedroom in my house here in Littleport, of course, Ferry Way, the street to be more specific, and once again here in the town of Littleport in just off East Cambridgeshire, here in England. And of course, once again, the reason why that I am here in a completely different room of my house is because that I've been currently having it being renovated by both of my parents, and I'm currently in the works of having it completely changed. Since you may remember, I have had that design of my favourite football team of Chelsea Football Club be the main branding inside my bedroom for quite a few years now, actually. May I add, maybe I think 2 decades or so as well, which I know that seems a long time, but honestly, I think it's definitely time for me to make a change. And it is all going to be themed around, once again, something that is really close and true to my heart. And once again, like I said already, it's something very, very exciting that I'm going to be announcing. Not right now, but of course I am keeping it a very top secret. So no, I'm not going to tell you anymore. But hopefully over the next few months of this year, you will get to see it all in its glory. And I'm really, really excited to be sharing this news with you all. But there are loads of other things in the pipeline regarding, once again, as we go back to this series, of course. For most of you who may remember, the last episode that I did of this was when I went to see the truly remarkable in-the-round theatre production of, once again, the underrated Disney musical classic itself of Newsies at the Troubadour Wembley Park Theatre. Unbelievably, if you may remember from the last episode, I did say, even though that there was a gap between quite a massive delay in the parts of that episode, from now being in February, which is the month now that from when we went to see it in the last few weeks of January last month. They have now been announcing recently they have extended it once again, the show's run, all the way now to July, would you believe? Which is truly remarkable, all the way through the summer. And honestly, that is truly astonishing to actually see that happen, and it couldn't be any more deserved for a show like that. I mean, it just goes to show how popular the show has been. Of course, not just recently, but the anticipation for it coming here to the UK is truly remarkable. And honestly, as I said before, as I mentioned previously on the last episode, I will definitely go and see it again in a heartbeat. And honestly, it's definitely already become one of my favourite shows already of this year of 2023. And it's only been the first one and I've seen of this year. But honestly, to make that statement, I have no shame for that at all. Because honestly, the standard and also the bar of, I think, of the whole production, to look at it as a whole, was just on another level, honestly. I mean, as I've said before, of course, if you have not seen that episode yet, there is a link just below this video in, of course, the description box below, and you can watch it in all its glory. I would like to also apologise for the length of the video as well, because I do talk a lot lengthy about it, but since it's, of course, a musical that has been long awaited to be done here finally in the UK. That's the reason why it's that lengthy for, and there's a few other little surprises in store as well. But of course, let's get back, of course, on topic to this episode. And once again, like I said, you may be wondering why I happen to be wearing something very amped, of course, that was worn a lot back many centuries ago. And this is, of course, the famous, of course, royal tunic that was worn by another very famous king of England, and his name being Henry V. But also, unbelievably, a particular king that I also have took a liking to, and I also have dressed up a lot quite recently as well, is also the main factor, or slightly, of course, in connection with him, for that matter, of Henry VIII of England. And I am talking about, unbelievably today, a show all based around the first daughter he had with his first wife of Catherine of Aragon, and that being Lady Mary. Of course, before she then became later queen later on in her life, after the death of, once again, Henry VIII, and then also his heir to the throne, of Edward VII. And for any of you who don't know who, of course, she was well known to being as, she was nicknamed Bloody Mary for how she treated people who were Protestants in religion. And she was well known for burning a load of people at Stokes, of course, as being quite a horrible and quite nasty punishment for anyone who would commit the crime of treason or have different beliefs of a certain religion around that time. But anyway, of course, moving aside from all of the, of course, the nasty parts of and the dark time in that time in history, in British history, we, of course, are focusing on Mary I of England, but also there is one particular show that I have only just discovered quite recently, which has become a huge hit over here just from when it made its debut at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival from last year. And if you don't know what it is, today's programme and, of course, episode of Theatre See It Safely, I am going to be seeing the current UK tour production of Bloody Mary Live.
Okay, so raise your hand if you're a child of divorce. Okay, well, buckle up. I'm about to shit on your heroes. Let's fucking go. All right. It's like, what? He gets to be called Henry VIII for all time, and I'm stuck with Bloody Mary?
You think I'm not coming for you?
Ho 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 ho! Now, I bet you weren't expecting this show, everybody. Well, like I said, that's, of course, one of the recent trailers to, of course, that show. And just to remind you all, of course, if you certainly weren't expecting that, I did, of course, put a warning at the beginning of this episode. This, of course, episode of Theatre See It Safely is to contain some strong language and adult humour, because for any of you who don't know, of course, I am going to be once again heading over all the way, unbelievably. This is the furthest that I've been, of course, to actually see the show. Initially, I was going to head over to the Vault Festival, which has been held at the Vaults just under London Waterloo train station. And that's where the production was last previously performed. And to any of you who don't know what it is all about, if you have noticed, with, of course, the title of the show being called Bloody Mary Live, it is all about an alternative version of, once again, the famous or infamous, of course, first Queen of England, and that being, of course, Mary I, known once again, nicknamed Bloody Mary, but perceiving her this time as a young teenager. And a lot of the, of course, the show is unbelievably told as a stand-up comedy show, and very well, of course, I wouldn't say similar to 6, but it's almost, it's kind of got some relation and connection to, of course, being similar content, of course, of what the performer who plays that role, of course, how she dresses, and also the content that's included. But honestly, guys, this is a show that I've only just discovered recently, and once again, with, of course, being a fan of Tudor history, and now seeing it in a different way, like a modernized take on it in a way, which actually I thought is really, really cool. Just like with how Six the Musical has normally been using that same, of course, format, and also way of telling the story, and also the history of, once again, King Henry VIII's reign, and along with the connection this time being told, and the honest truth said by the wives, once again, of Henry VIII, with no involvement of Henry himself included. But as you know, of course, I have been embracing that world of course, of the musical. But with this, it's very, very different, because, like I said already, it is, of course, a stand-up show, and unbelievably, just like, of course, with Mary I, she was treated quite badly, unbelievably, by Henry VIII, of course, her father at the time. And to see her in a almost, you could say, it's actually, she's very reminiscent of Anne Boleyn in Six the Musical, because she has got quite a rebellious attitude. She's wearing all black, as you did see, of course. She did do something very unusual, smearing a lot of lipstick on her face. And also there was a little teaser of something that she does at the end of the show, but I'm not going to spoil it for any of you if you have not seen it yet. But honestly, guys, I've already seen a bit of a preview of what to expect with the show, because of the person who is playing, once again, Mary I, is, just to remind you all, her name is Olivia Miller. Unbelievably, she's come all the way from America, but she is obsessed with British history. And I also heard an amazing, of course, podcast, which was called The Rex Factor, and she talked all about her show, and how she got the idea for it and everything. And it's quite nice to see. I mean, it's quite refreshing to see. Obviously, once again, a crossover idea, just like with Six, of course, when Toby Marlow and Lucy Moss wrote it, of course, a modernised take on that time in history. But this time, like I said, this is a stand-up show than stand-up comedy, which of course does have comedy, of course, elements. Six the Musical does have, but it's once again a completely different work, and like I said, we're focusing on it being a stand-up show of course, today, and what I'm reviewing at. So, but like I said, this is a show that I have undoubtedly, of course, really took a liking to, and I've been very intrigued to see a lot more about it. And honestly, I wouldn't say I'm going in blind with this, but I mean, there is not much I can tell you about it, because I want to try and keep spoilers to a minimum. If you, of course, if you haven't seen it yet. And I know that, funny enough, where I'm going to see it, of course, once again, if you did not know already, at the Harlow Playhouse Theatre in Harlow, Essex. Once again, that is a bit more closer to us than to heading to London, which is, excuse me, my apologies, I took a long, sharp intake of breath there. And, of course, this is a completely new place that we're heading to see the show. And once again, I'm not just going to go of course, myself there, because for any of you who did not know, I can't drive, and I have got fear of driving, so my dad is taking me with me to see the show. But I'm really, really excited, everybody, for this, and this is once again a show that is definitely not one that I was expecting to review, but I think it's definitely time to see what, of course, this show really has got what it takes to take on the ones that I have not just done previously, of course, for this year, but also all the other ones, because I haven't yet to do a stand-up comedy show, of course, review here on Theatre See It Safely. So there's always a first for everything on this series, and I've said before, I can once again with this show, as you know, I of course not just reviewing anything to do with theatre, it's also covering all of the arts, and as I've said before, and of course stand-up comedy is one of many, of course, forms of theatre, and as I've said before, it's once again a first for everything here on this of course series, and honestly this couldn't have happened at a more better time. So with that being said, it's time for, once again, like I said, to kick off this next episode here on this recent series of Theatre See It Safely 2023 of, once again, as myself, Jack Wright, and my dad, John Wright, we both go and see the UK touring stand-up comedy show of Bloody Mary Live from the Harlow Playhouse Theatre in Harlow, Essex. See you in a few minutes. Well, here we are, guys, at the Harlow Playhouse Theatre in Harlow, Essex, and of course, even though he is filming for me, my dad is just beside me, but also we are here once again to see one of the many of the tour dates of Bloody Mary Live, and I'm so excited for this. Once again, it's time for revenge for Mary the First of England. I'm sure she'll get her own way, and unbelievably something very special is going to happen later on in this vlog, so stay tuned, guys. But without further ado, let's head into the theatre and see the show. Come on, guys. This is the Tudor Dynasty Broadcasting Union, broadcasting all across the kingdoms of England, Ireland, Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland, and Western Europe. Now, exclusively filmed live from the Harlow Playhouse Theatre in Harlow, Essex, the first daughter of His Majesty King Henry VIII of England is about to tell her side of her part in being part of Henry VIII's reign like never seen before. Live, uncensored, and also very rebellious and bloody. Co-written in partnership with famous stand-up comedian of Olivia Miller. Now here on the Tudor Dynasty Broadcasting Union, it's Bloody Mary Live. Greetings, my lords, ladies, and loyal royal subjects. I am Henry VIII, King of England, Ireland, and France, and head of the Church of England. Back on the 18th of February, 1516, my first wife, Catherine of Aragon, gave birth to her first daughter, and even my own daughter, of Mary. I honestly didn't think I would ever have a daughter in my life, and I always wanted to protect my legacy as a king. I've always wanted to have an heir to follow me, but that's yet still to come. I'm still trying for an heir, but I seem to be struggling with her a lot. And honestly, never in my life would I have thought that I could possibly see my first daughter, Mary, possibly be a future Queen of England. I mean, the age she is now, only 16 years old. I mean, I became king that same age. But she was nowhere around to be seen before even Catherine was around. And I always still to think that even though that I haven't been treating her like you mostly may think yourselves that I should do it in a very different way, I have some very firm beliefs why that I don't want her to be with her. I mean, seriously, I'm changing history here, and she doesn't realize that. I know that she has been so supportive, and I mean, I used to be quite supportive of my daughter when she was young. But now, since she's reached her teenage years, I understand that things always have to change. So and so, I've heard that she's become very, very keen on performing. And even bizarrely, doing something known as stand-up comedy. Well, seriously, I have never heard of that in my life. But honestly, I know that we're in a completely different era now to then, back almost 500 years ago. But honestly, if she honestly think and tell the honest truth of what really happened and how I treated her all those years ago, I hope she's got something very, very potent planned. Because there's no way that the way that I raised her, she can't take over me and really expose the truth of what really happened. I would like to see her try. Mary, you have got a lot to ask for. Well, with that being said, there we go, everybody. That is all, unfortunately, the footage I can get from that very show that I went to see. And once again, that was, the UK touring production of Bloody Mary Live, the, once again, stand-up comedy show. And that was done, and also I got the chance to see it with my dad from the Harlow Playhouse Theatre in Harlow, Essex. Once again, like I said, I apologise for not much footage there of this review, of course, of the show, and because, as we know, it's with this show, it was highly encouraged to take photos, but to take footage of this, of this show was really, really hard video-wise. And I have utmost respect, of course, for Olivia Miller, who is the writer and producer for the show. But also, actually, on the topic of that, also, I would like to say that something truly remarkable happened before we even actually went to see the show. And I think it was, I think we arrived about an hour early to the theatre, and before, when she was about to start a show. But when we went up to, because believe it or not, the Harlow Playhouse Theatre is not just one place. I mean, it's like a multi-purpose venue with other like theatre stages. It was almost kind of like in like a tower block, which was quite remarkable, quite modern and kind of unique for a building like that of that stature in some way. But just from what happened almost just about an hour to go before she was on stage, being once again Mary Tudor, some people who were working at the theatre who did say that we were a little bit early to go into the venue, and unbelievably it was quite an intimate venue. If you are seeing a picture on your screen right now, there is of course a picture of the stage, including the microphone stand, and also a part of her the costume that Olivia of course Miller wore for once again, which became signature parts of the show. And she put them in segments, of course, these pieces of clothing throughout the show. Obviously, like I said already, since I am reviewing this show, if you are, of course, once again, if you have not seen it yet, of course, I don't want to spoil anything for you, but there could be possible spoilers, so I would like to remind you to skip to a certain part in this video, so you don't find out anything. But if you do get the chance to see it in the future, I mean, it's not just going to be the same as what I saw from just earlier on tonight, but it was a very interactive show, very immersive, and it was very well put together. There weren't many people actually that went to see it at the time when we saw it. It was only just like a little audience, and since it was in a small, intimate, of course, studio, or also theatre studio where we saw the show, it did feel a bit well, I wouldn't say uncomfortable at times, but it did feel a little bit unusual there. I thought, you know, if there was a bit more people, I think, you know, the energy could have been a little bit more uplifting. But honestly, I have to say once again, a fair play to Olivia. I'm sure she has been in that similar situation, of course, for playing and being the role of Mary Tudor, the First of England, in the show. But the jokes and the whole format of the show was so great, and I mean, it was beautifully performed. It was emotional at times. She can definitely act, guys. Honestly, it was. She did surprise me. There was like real tears that she also, of course, she actually produced from her own eyes when she was hitting on some real hard and of course vulnerable topics of talking about how she was treated by, once again, her I wouldn't say husband, but of course her father, with being Henry VIII. And but honestly, when like I said, going back to when I actually got a chance to meet her before the show, she asked, of course she was asked by one of the people that worked at the theatre for her to come out and say hello, and she did. And as soon as I saw her, I was like, oh my god, that's actually her. Because unbelievably, for any of you who do not know this already, I told her about that I was coming to see the show, and she already told me that of course it's you know, it was very anti Henry VIII, but I didn't even care about that at all. I was just there to not just dress up as him, of course. As you can see, this is the reason why I can even actually show off my brand new, of course, modern Henry VIII outfit. I'm sure you may have recognised seeing, of course, my hoodie, of course, that I wore for my SVN in concert special. But I have got a few new additions to it, which I will talk about very, very shortly. But getting back to, of course, the review, and when I met her, she couldn't believe what she was seeing when she saw me in this, even though I was wearing a coat on top of this. But she did see that I was wearing, of course, I was going to say, I've got these brand new, beautiful, gold-coloured high-top shoes. I got a pair of these in silver as well, which I wore for, of course, when I went to see a pantomime by, once again, KD Theatre Productions from last year as well. But to mark their 10th anniversary and their unofficial tin anniversary of being around for 10 years as a theatre group. But going back to seeing Olivia, she really appreciated the support. And honestly, I mean, she was absolutely brilliant. I mean, there was some great involvement. We actually had a load of younger people. I wasn't the only youngest person being there, of course, in the audience. There was a young group of course, of people from a local drama school that actually go to the college in Harlow, and were there on the front row, and they were just kind of... well, I wouldn't say squabbling, but I think they were kind of being, you know, like they did feel a little bit embarrassed to have some input of being part of the show. And Olivia was very much the same that with me, even though it was on the second row. There weren't that many, of course, rows of seats in the venue where we were watching the show from. But it was incredible, though. Like I said, it was the smallest intimate venue I've ever been to see a theatre show, but it was perfect. And the music that was entwined with the show, especially with the playing of Bad Guy, the very famous song from Billie Eilish, and also Bloodfest, which is, of course, the piece of music you may have heard throughout this episode, which is the signature theme for the show, which introduced, of course, Mary Tudor, the character in the show. But honestly, guys, as I said, most of the jokes in the show were absolutely hysterical, and there were loads of pop culture references to currently, and even things that have been happening recently. And honestly, it was brilliant. There was the occasional few bad words as well, but since it is stand-up comedy, that was to be expected, and I mentioned that, of course, at the top of this programme, that it was going to be included to get some points across. And Olivia definitely done that throughout the whole entire show, even though it was done in 1 hour. It was quite remarkable what she did in just that 1 hour of runtime that the overall show was, and it was absolutely brilliant to watch. And with that, I don't think there's not much else to really talk about it. Really, I mean, it's as I've said, I just trying to remember it all. It was quite the whirlwind, and I wouldn't say a blur as well, but it was definitely it was definitely worth the night out, even though that I certainly wasn't expecting to drive almost to be driven almost like an hour and a half to Harlow in Essex. But the venue as itself, though, and of course where it was, and if you did see it earlier on, it was a beautiful modern age looking theatre, of course, and location and venue where the show was. And I know I couldn't get much footage of it inside the venue, but that was because there was other people queuing for another show. There was also a tribute act to the great rock band of and pop band of Fleetwood Mac, which of course I've also found out quite recently. One of the main members of Mick Fleetwood, being the drummer, he's now decided to fully stop performing and also disband the band after the unfortunate passing of a band member from the group who passed away last year, Christine McVie. And but with that, of course, that was going on I wouldn't say a month, sorry, an hour before the show. It was we didn't have long to wait actually, and also, as I've said already, going back to, of course, my modern Henry VIII, of course, costume. I managed to get a little quick impromptu photo shoot as well. If you are seeing some pictures also that are on the screen right now, there of course are some that I took, and you'll also be seeing on my Instagram page. And they were all inspired by a modern photo of Henry VIII, which if you are also seeing that on the screen right now, I was trying to replicate that in some way. I'm hoping to do that with my Six the Musical variation of that cosplay, and hopefully I'll be doing that in a few weeks' time. But of course, more information on that very, very shortly. But just to remind you, of course, as I've said already, I already worn this, of course, Henry VIII style hoodie, and but also I have got a new addition here, if you can see it. If I can also, I know the lighting's not the best in here, because as you can tell, I'm back in, this is my, now my temporary bedroom for, of course, sleeping in, since my my current bedroom is currently being refurbished and is getting a bit of a secret makeover. But this is a replica pendant necklace that was worn on one of King Henry VIII's actual royal portraits by Hans Holbein the Younger. And this was beautifully made by the people of the website of the Tudor Enchanter Rose. The Enchanted Rose, if I did say that wrongly just then. But and it would cost about £65, which I know may seem a lot, but it is beautifully made. And you can also see, also, I know you may not be able to see it from here, but on parts of the chain that go around for the necklace, there is loads of H letter initials to indicate Henry. And as I said, this is the first time I got a chance to wear this, and I'm definitely going to be wearing this for when I definitely go and see Six the Musical in the future as well, for that matter. And as I've said already, I already showed you my gold shoes, and well, of course I couldn't get any white trousers, because I've now decided, since it's a lot more colder now, we're still in winter, I have now decided to not wear breeches as often with my Henry VIII cosplay, but I am planning to get a pair of course, white trousers or chinos also to make up for that. So I got these ones that were very similar colour to my pattern, of course, of the tunic pattern on me hoodie. But as you can tell, even though it's of course a tan, or almost like a, well, I wouldn't say a khaki colour, but I mean it's almost like a beige colour, like brown as well. So, but they of course were just temporary for tonight, as well as part of my outfit. And as I could tell, you could tell obviously I haven't got it on anymore, but I can also quickly show you that I also wore, instead of my being quite flamboyant with my current hat that I have as called when I cosplay Henry VIII, I decided to wear my Six the Musical themed hat, with of course with the crown that it had, the emblem of the show. And if you don't remember this, it also had on the back "Divorced, Beheaded, Live" on the back as well. But I will be wearing this again in the future. And like I said already, that is of course a quicker overview of what I wore from the show. And also on the topic of that as well, going back to the show quickly, I've also just remembered that I did manage to, of course, just recently, even though that now it's just come up to, just gone midnight now, or it's almost coming up to 1 o'clock actually, my apologies. I now understand, I know it's quite late in the, of course, on Friday morning now, since I went to see it on a Thursday, which was yesterday, on, once again, the 9th of February, since we're in the brand new month and the last month of winter. But also, I have got a picture here, and also, unbelievably, I got mentioned by tagging the official Instagram page of Bloody Mary, and it shows a picture of me, one of them that I took earlier on, as you may have just seen earlier on, and it also says the King himself came tonight, and to be acknowledged by the show page as well as Olivia the few weeks beforehand, and I'm sure she'll respond to, because I'm also sending her a message as well, as a thank you for acknowledging me and also coming and supporting the show. Honestly, she thoroughly deserves it. Honestly, I mean, she has worked seriously hard to get here to the United Kingdom from America, originally coming from New York City, would you believe, in the east part of the United States, and she has done so well to get here, and to also, of course, bring her own show. And her own variation of that infamous figure of the Tudor dynasty, being once again Mary the First of England, and even the first Queen of England, even though that she does say that, of course, Olivia is one of the jokes in saying that she also mentions the likes of also Elizabeth and also all of the other 6 wives in that Henry had, and honestly, I mean, as I said, I want to try and avoid spoilers if possible, but if you ever get the chance to see it in the future, I know it's got one more date, this show, of course, which is going to be in Crewe later on this weekend as well, on, I think it was either Saturday or Sunday, but hopefully I am trying to get in contact with Olivia to know when she is back doing this. But I have a feeling she might be back to doing the Edinburgh Fringe Festival, like she did with this show last year, making her debut, and she got rave reviews and critical acclaim for all of her shows being sold out for the entire run, and she went to do shows all across the 4 weeks of the festival. And I'm sure she'll be back there by popular demand, hopefully later on this year also too. Well, with that being said, that of course concludes my review, of course, for once again Bloody Mary live from the Harlow Playhouse in Harlow, Essex. Now, of course, as always, we're now coming to the most important thing of any review of course, on my series, and that is giving my show rating for this show. And once again, since it is the very first stand-up comedy show that I have seen in the history of of course, of 5 years doing this new series, and of course for it when I first did it back in 2016, I never thought I would ever get the chance to see a stand-up comedy show, but once again there is a first for everything on this show, and to once again give my official show rating, I have to give it, once again, and it's not a continuing thing, because honestly I think all of the highest reviews and ratings for any show deserve it if the content in the show is that good. And honestly, this one definitely surprised me in a very good way for that too also. And with that being said, my show rating for Bloody Mary live from the Harlow Playhouse Theatre, it gets a highly recommend and also 5 stars. I mean, it is a brilliant and well thought of idea. I know my dad, you know, he's a little bit more hard to please on it, but since I know there is quite the massive age gap between me and him, he did think it was good, and I don't think obviously he kind of connected with the show. I mean, he did get involved, believe it or not, as part of the show, but I think the show is more aimed at a younger audience like myself, and I was just in it even though that I'm almost now 30 years old, would you believe? Oh, I know. It's quite scary, isn't it? But of course, with that being said, also, if you do get the chance to see it, whenever it is back in the UK, definitely go and book your tickets. And there can be more information found out about the show. You can also visit the official website of, if you're seeing it just below, of once again Olivia Miller's official, of course, page, where you can find out a little bit more about her online, and also how she got the idea for the show. And also, once again, like I said already, do check out the link below also of the Rex Factor when the podcast, when she first talked about and how she got the idea for the show A Bloody Mary Live, and it's definitely worth a listen to if you want to find out a little bit more about how Olivia got the idea and what inspired her to do this show as a whole as well too. Well, with that being said, that once again concludes my, of course, review of, once again, Bloody Mary Live from the Harlow Playhouse Theatre. And with that also, that is the end of another episode, guys, of Theatre See It Safely. Once again, very differently, because, of course, since I am in a completely new place to do these reviews now, but the show hasn't changed as much. It may be a different setting, but the show format still remains the same. And once again, I mean, what another great, amazing show that we've looked at this time here on Theatre See It Safely. And also as well, believe it or not, since I did mention a few other little nods to since I was talking about Six the Musical, but this musical, obviously, or actually piece as well, since it's obviously a, excuse me, I just had to clear my throat there, my throat was getting a little bit dry, once again, Bloody Mary being a stand-up comedy show. This one, of course, since I've mentioned already, that of Six the Musical being mentioned and having some connection in with Bloody Mary Live, here is a little taste, unbelievably, of what will be the next show that I'll be seeing in another episode of Theatre See It Safely.
Divorced, beheaded, died. Divorced, beheaded, survived. Listen up, let me tell you a story. We're six.
Well, I'm quite surprised the amount of times I happen to have mentioned it, but honestly, like I've said before, guys, as you know, it is one of my favourite musicals at the moment in London's West End. But as well as that, also for the first time since I last saw the UK touring production back in 2021, like I said, 2021 for that matter as well, I am getting the chance, unbelievably, because of this year marks 5 years since the first amateur production of Six the Musical, and it was done by Cambridge University Musical Theatre Society, and it was done at the ADC Theatre in Cambridge. But for the very first time since it first went on a UK tour, when the show first was done back in 2018, when it went on a short-lived UK tour before the cast got changed and there was a huge revamp of the show. It was performed unbelievably, like I said, it was done briefly at one of the theatres in Cambridge, and that being once again of the Arts Theatre in Cambridge. Of course, not to get confused with that being a name of the theatre also in London, but this is of course the Cambridge Arts Theatre I'm talking about, and I'm very excited to announce once again that I am going to be seeing Six the Musical, the 5 years anniversary UK tour 2023, and that will be on the 24th of February, on the Friday 24th of February 2023. And I'm really, really excited to be seeing a UK touring production of the show again. They've had a massive cast change. There's been a few changes to the cast that have been performing recently. They've just started performing currently up north in Stockton-on-Tees, but they are going to be heading to the Cambridge Arts Theatre from next week onwards, and they'll be starting from the 24th of from, once again, like I said, that is the day when I go and see it, but the first date of that will be on Tuesday the 14th of February, and it will go on until like I said, the 24th of February. and that unbelievably will be the last date of the time when they go and when the UK touring cast actually perform there. So, but like I said already, before I repeat myself, really looking forward to seeing it. And this is, of course, once again, since it is marking 5 years since the first production, not just professionally but also at amateur level, this is going to be a long year celebration of all the incredible things this musical has achieved throughout the last 5 years since it was first done back in 2017. And that, of course, is not the only time that I'm going to be seeing it, because also later on this year, and mostly also, but unbelievably as well for that matter, I will be also going to be seeing it a week after, unbelievably, of course, one of the exciting events coming up of this year of His Majesty, Royal Majesty now, of King Charles III with his coronation, and for being the officially King of England and the United Kingdom and the Commonwealth. And we will also be tying in with that royal coronation theme. I'm happy to announce that also I'll be seeing once again Six the Musical back at once again the Vaudeville Theatre in London's West End on Sunday the 14th of May, and that will be the next Royal West End sing-along, coronation sing-along for that matter, 2023. And there has been a new cast that have just been, of course, just changed just from the end of last year, and that's really, really exciting to see. And once again, I'll be dressing up in, of course, my alter ego of King Henry VIII, and I've got loads of things planned, especially with going back to the UK touring production. I have also, like what I did when I went to see the Royal West End sing-along show performance just last year, in September last year, 2022, I also officially, as being Henry VIII, I have now decided by royal, of course, decree and a royal proclamation that I made my own oath of allegiance and to also support the Queens of Six the Musical, not just in London's West End, but now also across the UK, in the UK touring production, and that will also be making a return to the London West End production as well. And yes, I'm definitely going to be making a few more of them to give out to some of the performers who may be performing on that night. And with also that being said, also if that wasn't enough, I also will be getting the chance to go and seeing it a third time, but once again back with the UK touring cast. And I will also for the very first time get the chance to go and see it locally at the New Theatre in Peterborough. And also this is actually on the week just a few days after, unbelievably, because funny enough I do celebrate my birthday on the month of June, which it happens to be the 6th month of course of every year, and also being also on the 6th day of being born as well on that month as well. And but I will be seeing it a few days after. I think from what I remember, I think I'll be seeing it either on the 9th or 10th or 11th or around some other time in that week. So also around the same time as the of course the traditional military event of Trooping the Colour, to mark our late Queen Elizabeth II's birthday. And it's going to be very, very different, obviously, with that being tied in for, of course, when she had her Platinum Jubilee last year. It's going to be very different since, obviously, this is being moved, of course, or changed because of now we have a new, of course, monarch to the throne. But that's all to look forward to, guys. And as I said, if I did a ramble on there about those upcoming performances and events that I'm going to see, I do apologise. But once again, there is a quick lowdown of some future shows that I'm going to be seeing in some possible future episodes, once again, on my vlog series of Theatre See It Safely. Well, with that being said, like I said already, that is it for another episode, and this unexpected episode, once again, of Theatre See It Safely for that matter. And I know that this one wasn't a live one because of we couldn't get a live audience in for this one, but I hope you all enjoyed it. And once again, if you have enjoyed this episode of, once again, Theatre See It Safely, my theatre vlog series, give it a like, comment down below your thoughts about this show, and also, as always, if you want to keep up to date with all the latest theatre news, you can also follow me once again on Instagram at RealNextGen King Henry VIII, where you can also see all of the pictures that I have taken and my review of the show, once again here on YouTube, but also I will mention it briefly also on Instagram later on in a few days after when I've done this review. And like I said, guys, once again, thank you very much for watching, of course, this episode of Theatre See It Safely. The day finally came, and Mary the First has been proven wrong. That she, even though she tried to get rid of her title of Bloody Mary, she still managed to achieve and have some redemption and some revenge against her then, of course, being father of King Henry VIII. And for any of you who may not have had the chance to see it yet, don't worry, I'm sure Mary the First will be returning to the UK very, very soon. So with that being said, thanks very much for watching, and as always, until next time, au revoir, adios, auf Wiedersehen. Thanks for watching. Goodbye. We're done? Whoa, goodness me, that was a late one, honestly. And I know I completely forgot to mention it because, I mean, you know, since my dad just took me earlier on, and yeah, he's in bed now. Yeah, God, I didn't mean to be that loud. I don't think I didn't mean to do that if I was just then, but well done, everybody. I mean, that was totally unexpected, that review for, of course, this show, but we got there in the end, and now, of course, we look forward to seeing Six the Musical in a few weeks' time. And my goodness, this is only just the start of an incredible series, and of course trilogy of course expected performances. And honestly, if you thought 2022 was the incredible year that this musical has, or that musical has had already, this is going to be even one step further than that, and even, honestly, to tie in with one future performance coming up later on this year, along with an actual coronation of our current monarch as well, King Charles III. My goodness me, it couldn't get any more royal this year than it even tried. It's definitely the start of a new era, and most importantly, the start of an incredible series of more incredible and long-awaited and highly anticipated theatrical events. I bring it on, everyone. And with that, once again, that concludes this episode of Theatre See It Safely, the Bloody Mary live episode.